Hey, 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 welcome back to the Gemini channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Gemini. Know that energy is fluid, roles can be reversed, interpret the message as it best resonates. Also, know on this channel, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play out as karmic themes. So the readings have a therapy style to them. And the reason why is because a lot of times we already know that a person has feelings for us. We a lot of times can read them ourselves. We don't understand why they do what they do. And when you are dealing with someone that's hurt, they hurt you. Do they mean to? A lot of times they don't. But people that don't heal the effects of trauma create the same undesirable life experiences. So if you feel like you're stuck in a karmic loop with a person that you know you have love for, but it's a toxic love and it's the same types of experiences, there's karmic lessons to be learned. There's actually karmic lessons to be learned within every spiritual relationship, but the karmic connections that keep us bound to a lower state consciousness is what you want to break because that keeps you bound to a place of feeling not good enough, not worthy, ultimately to a place of pain. So, in order to heal the effects of trauma, you have to see the experience from a different perception and understanding why certain experiences are playing out the way that they are. When you understand the dynamics of why things are playing out, you're able to change your own behaviorisms, your habits that are keeping you bound to that core belief that is just creating undesirable life experiences of lack. Really, that's really what it is. Always perceiving yourself as not worthy, not good enough, not having enough, always in a place of scarcity, when really you are made up of the universe, which is the energy of unconditional love. That's the energy of God. That's a supernatural power that's inside of you. That's actually your natural state. When you're coming from your higher self, you're actually coming from this God part of self. Problem is that we all grow up in environments and go through experiences and then wind up creating those same experiences within our relationships until we heal. So it's not all the time. It's that does a person that you're dealing with have a bad intention? Again, it just looks bad, um, but understand when you change the dynamic of the connection. Now, that doesn't all the time mean that you get to be with the person, that the person's going to come back and all of a sudden be the version of themselves that you want, which is the best version of themselves. No, but you learn the lesson and you integrate what you need to integrate so that you are not attracted that type of dynamic can never play out again within your relationships, ultimately, because you've integrated certain spiritual lessons. Otherwise, the fear of going into another relationship that is mirroring the previous undesirable relationship is what the fear is. And how do we manifest the thoughts that we think and the emotions that we have? So understand that you're the creator of your life experiences and what you're doing unconsciously that is preventing you from experiencing the life experiences that you want to have is what shadow readings are all about. So I just wanted to put that out there, even though I know it's long, I'm sorry. Now, if you want to enter into any free reading with me, you got to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word of the video in your comment bar. The word of the video is always on the first card that I pull out. It's the underlining energy that tells me why everyone's doing what they're doing. Very important when you're dealing with people that wear masks. They create illusions. They want you to think something, but very rarely is that the truth. They're either overcompensating or undercompensating. We just don't understand why. But understand if we're creating from a facade, we're going to always create things that are not substantial in our life. because a facade is just that. It's not based on real. It's not based on true love. It's based on the ego. Okay, so there's the elitist and the ego. I'm gonna pull another one just to deepen it, but you don't have to write both these words. You can just write elitist in your comment bar. And criticism. So I believe that, you're connected to someone that has a lot of money and they're going through it right now. I feel like they're going through a divorce, they're going through a separation, they're losing a lot of their money. So there's a lot of talk about them. And so this person built their persona on their success and their money. And so now that I feel like they're losing a lot of that, it's a sense of that they're obviously embarrassed. Their ego is being torn apart. And I feel like this person, like, just doesn't, they don't learn because I feel like this is something that repeatedly happens. And it's all because they don't really want to listen. They see everything as a criticism. And I even feel like when you were dealing with this person even avoided you just because they don't want to be told that they do anything wrong. They want to be perceived as knowing everything. So if like you challenge them, that instead of them actually being open to learning, they see it almost like as if you're like you're taking their status away from them almost. They wanted you to like kind of put them on a pedestal, like see them through what they had. Because when this person met you, I believe that they didn't really give you the time. And they didn't give you the time, Gemini, because you didn't have a lot of money. It's like you didn't have a lot of money. So they saw you as simple. They saw you as just really giving them time because you have genuine feelings. So there was a sense that you were naive. And they didn't appreciate that. So it's like this person does not see themselves in this energy anymore. And so there's a sense of that they're also criticizing themselves, but they're also don't want you to know that they're not in this energy anymore, where they, may be like, let's just say 1/3 of the richest population in the town that you live in, or, something like that, where again, this person like prized themselves on the money that they had and not really who they are. And I feel like when they met you, they were like, yeah, I like you, but you're not in my budget, like not budget, you're not in my financial class. So I wouldn't be with you. Like this person judged you by what you had, but now they don't have what they used to have. And so now they're like looking at themselves and they're criticizing themselves because of it, because they stayed away from you for a long time. This person is someone that feels really inadequate, like they don't fit in anywhere. And the reason why is they continue to live experiences where they keep self-sabotaging themselves. Now, you may say, well, what does that have to do with me? Well, again, they have feelings for you of love, but if a person doesn't love themselves or believe that they're deserving of love, they tend to create self-sabotaging behaviorisms where they get in their own way, which makes their life look like a roller coaster. Like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but they get in their own way where they sabotage themselves, and that makes them feel like inadequate. That makes them not like who they are. So they can't handle any type of criticism at all. And because they don't like who they are, they hear everything through that wound per se. And so they feel inadequate. They feel like they don't belong anywhere. They feel like they're like a fallen angel. And like I feel like because you cut your energy off from them, it's like, and you did, it's not like you like did it silently. I do believe that you confronted this person, but I believe that this person is lashing out at everyone, like seeing everybody as their enemy, because understand they need to heal the root issue. When a person doesn't heal the root issue, what they do is they project. They project like everything's your fault. Everything is your fault. Like it's and their rules. They have two sets of rules, one for themselves and one for you. They don't realize how unfair that they are. There's people that live completely in survival mode. And if we always feel that we don't fit in anywhere, that we feel a little inadequate, we feel like there's something wrong with us, that's even if we grew up in that environment, it's like we have to heal that. Otherwise, every single new environment that we go into, that's what we're going to feel that people perceive us as because we see what we look for. And unconsciously, this person looks for it. And that's why they, overcompensate and they want to be seen as perfect. Like they don't want to be seen as making mistakes. And that's a person that wants to seem perfect, feels so inadequate that that they, like I said, that they will create the illusion. And in that, they're not having a strong, intimate connection with you, no matter how much of a relationship they want to have. So understand it's like this person is going through major issues. I feel like when you met them, they had a lot of money, but because they're like losing their money, it's again how they are perceiving themselves is like that they don't fit in, they don't have an identity anymore. So I'm gonna say, what does that have to do with me? Well, I feel like it's why they avoid you. You want to know why they're not in your life. It's like they're not in your life because who you knew this person as was arrogant. Again, they overcompensated for the lack that they feel. Understand just because they had a lot of money doesn't mean that they felt abundant. This person lived from a very low state consciousness where no matter how much they had would never be enough. So again, like being seen as an elite person is hugely important to someone that feels such a lack. So, but the problem is that they overcompensated and they made mistakes within their business. And really, during that time, I feel like you and this person were having a little bit of problems, so instead of them, really talking to you about it, they made you like really confront them, like you said, but they took it in a way that you were lashing out at them, but you weren't lashing out at them. I feel as if, when a person is wounded and they want to seem perfect, they're not going to allow you to like look at their mistakes. So instead, they would rather get into a fight with you, push you away so you don't see that part of them. And so again, in that they create avoidance, but the real reason why they're creating avoidance is because their life looks like a shit show. And I feel like a little bit of that was happening when you first met this person, and they also couldn't take your criticism because they weren't giving you time and energy clearly because of whatever was going on in their life, to the point that they're losing their status of Maybe if they owned a business, they're losing that business. Again, if they had a lot of money and now they don't have that money, it's like a class that this person like was very proud to be in that now they're not. And so there's a sense of not really knowing who they are, and that's why they would want to avoid. They're ashamed about themselves. And then on top of it, they know that they owed you an apology. So they don't feel good. They lost their money. And then they're like, and then you want me to come back and apologize to you. And you would obviously want to see some sort of change behavior. And I can't give you change behavior because I don't have any money now. And so, and there's also a sense of, um, that it took so long for them to even give you an apology that it's disrespectful almost for them to come back empty-handed and without enough. And they know that you don't feel safe with them because it's like this person does what's best for themselves. That's what you see. It's like they're not strong within themselves. They're not emotionally intelligent. They base themselves on like a persona, not doing what they do, like not being a stand-up person. Stand-up person is someone that apologizes, that shows up, but because of their own inadequacy, really, it's like they see everything as everyone confronting them, and then they can't handle it. They're the ones that lash out. They're the ones that are triggered. So this is why they avoid, because it really goes against this persona of being perfect. But that's what you realize. It's like that this person cares more about what things look like than whether it's real. So that makes you not feel safe emotionally. You're like, how you don't show up. You don't show up for me. You care more about what things look like. Like in not apologizing, they created intimacy issues. An intimacy at its basic level is trust. How can you trust this person if they're gonna avoid you when they're going through a hard time? Really, I mean, they would rather just avoid because they don't want to be seen as inadequate. They don't want to see it because how they know it is that they haven't treated you right to begin with. So this is really what it comes down to. And so over time, obviously there's a lack of a desire to be with the person. So it's like I feel like the dry spell is more or less like I don't have a desire to be with you. It's like because you don't show up, and then what happens is that this person feels rejected, and then they're like, I can't deal with the lack of dry spell because how they associate love is through touch, through that, not really verbalizing. This person avoided you because they don't know how to verbalize what they're going through. They're too ashamed of it. And that realize that this person would have to be very vulnerable to tell you what's happening in their life. They are not that person. They're somebody that's more of a like I can connect with you physically, but on an emotional level, I cannot. And the reason why is because I have a hard time communicating. So, especially when they want to be foreseen as this perfect person, what's happening now is it's like they're ashamed of what's happening in their life. They don't feel good about themselves. So, you again detaching from them on an emotional level will made this person shut down. Because then they're like, well, if I don't feel like you're passionate towards me, then it's like, but that's also their biggest and greatest fear, when meanwhile you're like, no, it's all about you. Because when you go through those experiences, Gemini, you feel like that this person forgets about you, that you're forgotten about, when really they just detach from you. Nevertheless, you see trauma here. It's not like you don't, but you see the real reason why. And why I say that is because being connected to someone like this, I mean, like when you first met them, they were a little bit arrogant because they were in that elite energy of who they thought that they were. You didn't have enough money, you weren't good enough. Now all of a sudden you would be good enough, but you're saying, no, no, you're not good enough because I see you differently, which changes the dynamic of the connection. And that's what this person feels psychically, which is why they're avoiding you. I'm not saying that that's something that would happen. I think the more that that's happening, I think the more that they avoid you, the more that that would happen. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know? So that's what the issue is. It's like this person, I feel like, needs healing. It's like because they perceive that you're going to react and respond the way that they've been, in that has happened to them in previous relationships that have wounded them. What I'm trying to say. Yeah, fear of change. And part of change is just being stuck in the way that we think. I mean, this person, the way that here it's like fear of change, so they avoid. Like, even if a situation wasn't working, which clearly it wasn't working because they weren't happy, they had the status that they were elite, but they were connected, I feel like, to people and situations that they didn't really want to be connected to anymore because that stagnated who they were. So it became like a push-pull within that dynamic where they couldn't give you the time and attention because of what was going on within their business. I'm assuming it was to something that was attached to their money, to their livelihood. Again, this person's angry. That's and part of it is because, like I said, I feel like this is something that keeps happening to them. It's like they may you know, like take a long time to get back on their feet, but they get back on their feet and they financially do well, and then somebody comes by and they, do that. But it's like it's not that that happens, it's that this person um is very imbalanced and they attract people that are imbalanced. Like that's how it's that they, don't handle things properly. They don't want to really have an open conversation when things are, go wrong. Instead, they see everything as criticism and then they avoid you. And so again, when people are emotionally invested and you're dealing with a low vibrational person, which this person's on a low vibration because they're not emotionally intelligent, like people, if you're avoiding, I mean, it's just rude. There's a sense that that karma comes back at you. And the thing is that this person then attracts people that are really needy, that are very controlling, then tend to dominate their lives. So they don't really like relationships because they just know that relationships don't work out. They wind up losing their money, they wind up losing their things. So that's part of it. But then this person also feels extremely inadequate, where they almost feel like they need to be in a relationship because there's very codependent relationship there. And so we only have fear of change when we don't know who we are. And they're stuck in their old habits because there are always habits that are attached to behaviorisms that are feared, that are stemmed in fear. And what we see is avoidant. What we also see here is like feeling unsafe, which is all about trust issues, and really perfectionist. Well, it's all second chakra imbalance, because the second chakra represents a person's individuality, their creativity, who they perceive they are, in the passion of life. When we are feeding our passions for life, that's really what makes up our energy. It's like where we're putting our time, our energy, our focus, and our money is where what we become, right? Life is all about becoming who you want to be within the world. And, when we're feeding, ourself, our true self, we're finding ourselves. But this person doesn't do that. They try to create the persona of who they want you to perceive that they are. And so in that, they're not connecting on a real soul level. It's on a surface level. So if the relationship never gets that deep, well, then they don't really care how they treat you. Because, it's when a person really has those feelings for a person, they're going to think twice about how they treat them. It takes time to build an emotional bond. And that's not happening if the person is avoiding every time that there's a problem and they want to be seen as perfect. Then they're caught up in their facade of who they are. And so your voice, anything that you say is going to irritate them. That's what's going to bother them. And it's going to create a lot of imbalances within the relationships because you're not going to be able to say what you need to say. Then that's going to aggravate you. That's going to make you angry. Then that attention, instead of going towards creating yourself, is on this person. And that's what this person is used to. They're used to being seen as desirable because they're elite. I'm this person, and they walked like that. Now they don't have that. So who are they? It's like really the person I do feel like is going to come back, but it's about forgiveness. And I feel like this person, like, first of all, needs to forgive themselves, and they also need to forgive every single other karmic person that has been in their life, because I feel like this is a situation that continues to happen within their life. So they have major trust issues. And then part of trust is all about trusting yourself, not trusting other people. If you have a good connection to like that God inside of you and you're grounded in yourself, well, in the now, in the moment is when you get divine guidance. And when you act on that divine guidance, it's you're safe. It's like the issue is that this person doesn't trust themselves. So in the fact that they don't trust themselves, I feel like they don't like who they are. They have trauma. They haven't healed that trauma. So again, the old habits are really like fear of like just doing things differently, avoiding is huge. And then, like I said, wanting it to be seen as perfect, obviously you would feel unsafe. And so why would you want to create any type of intimacy at all? You wouldn't. So understand this person's angry because they feel like they've lost everything, including you. I feel like in the past, situations have happened where you need to learn how to forgive. And this person needs to learn how to forgive. I mean, there's still passion, but this person is like, has more of like a dominant force of that. It's like they didn't take the time to cultivate the relationship. So it's not that they don't have passion, but it's on a lower energy because it's seen as, more of a dominant physical animalistic thing, which it's just pure passion and lust, which is fine, but only if that's what you want. And I don't feel like it is. I feel like this person stresses you out. I feel like they're somebody that's always stressed, that they're never settled because of the experiences that they create. They don't trust themselves, so they can't trust anybody else. So even though that they have feelings for you, they stress you out because you're in the fact you don't never know what you're going to get. And then on top of it, what is that they'll avoid the entire situation in the fact of not knowing how to handle a situation. And that creates a lot of hostility on your part. It's like When meanwhile, it's like this person just cuts themselves off from their knowing. And then in that, they wind up cutting themselves off from you, where you then feel lonely. And then over time, it creates a lot of resentment because this person like takes forever to come back because they have to surrender their ego. And so you're getting to the point where you feel like this person really isn't learning. And so you think that it would just be easier to grieve and take the loss, because this person feels the need to be perfect, instead of being in the connection. It's we're really like we all are powerful, but this person feels powerless. They hold on to the facade. And in that, you don't trust them because it creates a lot of anxiety and you don't trust them. Um, and so this person then gets stuck in the guilt and the remorse of I don't really know how to come back. And now they feel like you see them as like you're disgusted with them. When really it's like this person's just being like a narcissist, like they, manipulate, they want to control. It's like they want to be seen as something and they don't realize that that's what it is. It's like, yeah, they have all these different emotions, but when they don't realize what's influencing those emotions is all about this person wanting the control, wanting to be seen a certain way, because the perfectionism just keeps coming out. Doesn't mean that they don't have any feeling for you at all. It's not what I'm saying. It's like a narcissist has feeling. And that's what the problem is. If, we didn't have that feeling, we would know automatically that they were a narcissist. Many times we get caught up in the connection, in the passion. Remember, that's what came out. There's a lot of passion in this connection, but there's also a lot of stress in this connection. There it is. There's a lot of passion in this connection, but this person needs to heal. They need to heal. It's like it's their habits, their behaviorisms, and they would need to heal the root. I'm trying to leave my comfort zone with this issue. So understand this relationship doesn't make them feel safe because they have to relinquish control. They don't really want to do that. So it's not like they're not fighting it. It's like they know that you are important to them. The universe brought us together. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm starting to discover little things. And that's really the universe brought us together for a reason. Like this person, that's all that they know. That the relationship, that the relationship has a purpose, has to have a purpose because they can't walk away from you. The relationship's not easy. It's making themselves look at themselves. This person's a narcissist. They never looked at themselves before, and understand you standing up for yourself. I feel like they are. You show up in my dreams. It helps me process buried memories. So there's a past life connection with you and this person. So there's a very strong spiritual dynamic. So even if the relationship never turns into anything, the universe has already done its job, meaning the universe brings us people to help us awaken our wounds. And what we saw here is that the person had like a lot of issues. They had a lot of trauma that they haven't healed. So being in a relationship with them would essentially be like impossible because they would always see you as seeing them as like disgusted. Like always see you as seeing them as like a problem. Like being disgusted with them all the time is what I'm trying to say. And that's because of how they feel about themselves, because they need to heal the root issue. And because they don't, they keep getting in their own way. I'm afraid you're going to meet someone else until I'm ready to be with you for good. I feel like this person is trying to heal. Like I said, they're trying to get out of their comfort zone with the issue. Um, they're working on themselves. They realize that they sabotaged this connection. They're trying to figure out why they sabotaged this connection, is what I really feel. It's like, and they feel like it's important. Don't judge this, just surrender. I know it's triggering, but from a higher perspective, it's clearing energy and bringing us closer together. So again, on a spiritual level, I don't think that this person knows this, but I think that it's again, there's always divine energy with these soul relationships. I mean, if especially if there's a lot of trauma, and what we see here is this person has a lot of trauma. You can tell by the way that they acted in the relationship. So it's almost like during those times of separation where you're reflecting on everything that they did, it is bringing up a lot of old wounds. Like this person's behaviorisms and habits triggered feelings that were already buried within inside of you, about feelings of lack, feelings of not good enough, feelings when really that's how they feel about themselves. They feel like there's something wrong with them, which is why they put on the persona of being perfect. But really, it triggered you also to feel like you were inadequate. Like, how come they're not giving you the time? It's through their own wound. It activated like a wound inside of you per se, that is part of the clearing process. Without the awareness, you can't clear the emotional energy. And that's what you have to do to integrate a spiritual block. You have to integrate the spiritual lesson. That means you have to see why the experience is actually happening and how you are contributing to that experience is what I mean. And then what you can do to integrate the spiritual lesson. What are you going to do differently? There's many different realities that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness, if it's on a high vibration, well, the universe is going to notice that because it's going to be what's best for everyone involved. When we're coming from a place of lack and limitation and feeling of not good enough, well, obviously then we're overcompensating. We don't realize because no one wants to come from that state. That we can see what it looks like, that there's a lack within our resources. There's a lack within, you know, just life experiences, the joy. And how do you gain more energy, more chi, is to be interactive in life, to love your life. So what this is that spirit is saying, it's like, yeah, that this person has a lot of spiritual blocks. They're working through the process of letting go and surrendering. They do have feelings for you, but to even come back and apologize, it requires a lot on this person because they've never done that before. It's again, they have to let go of the facade of the old image. Like they went through a dark night of the soul. It's almost like a phoenix that rises from the ashes, but right now they're in the ashes. Whatever they had is gone. So they're processing all of this situation, and they know if they're going to come towards you, they have to give you something. They have to, so like you may not like what it looks like, but spirit says you won't like what it looks like because it's designed to bring up all those wounds so that you can see them. You'll know by how that person makes you feel. That's how you know that it's a karmic relationship. So you have to say, well, let's pull from the inner child cards and see how it made you feel. And then we'll also pull like two cards from the fearless deck. All right, let's see. Magic, card 1. Disassociated, card 2. Trauma, card 3. Water, 4. Frustration, 5. And naive, 6. And then we're going to pull 2 from this deck. Fearless heart and ascending life. So You had a lot of trauma growing up. And not just because it says trauma, but when we disassociate, it's that we don't remember, we might remember the incident, but we don't have an emotion one way or the other about it. It's that we were disconnected from it. So there are pieces of the experience that we actually don't remember, we're not conscious of. Those are fragmented pieces that they call, like, just go into consciousness. We don't know, almost like go into space, that we've lost those pieces of ourself. And so you went through this major trauma and it created this disassociation. But through that is really where you find your magic. And you find your magic through the energy of not just water, but of that you're a clairsentience and claircognizance. And so you part of your path, your spiritual path is again to utilize your spiritual gifts. Again, that and also like this naive when you were a child, I feel like was affected by the trauma, but you also, because you had to learn about certain things at a young age that were most people didn't, and that's about mental illness and about spiritual illness. So again, if you grew up with somebody that was an alcoholic, a drug addict, anorexic, like had any type of issue that came out where they self-hated themselves, where they were disgusted in themselves. Well, I feel like that's this energy here that you grew up in an environment with a parent that felt very similar to the way that this person that you're connected to spiritually feels. And because of that, they didn't show up for you. So it affected you as a child, but you always had that empath energy, which is like creative energy, but it's also very childlike. And so, the disassociation, like I said, it came from the fact that this parent could never be there. And you watching them and them struggle with their life. Understand that's how we inherit the trauma. We go through very similar experiences. And that's what had happened with you, and that's actually what happened to you because you witnessed it with this, this parent, and now being attached to somebody that has the same issue that had, again, you're watching it from a different perception. So maybe you weren't able to forgive that parent, is what Spirit is saying, and it affected and how when we don't forgive, then we're actually putting energy towards like what we're not forgiving. And it keeps us bound to this lower consciousness. But you have to say you're an energy being. So what energy should you be utilizing that energy for? You shouldn't be like bound to something that you don't want to be bound towards. And what it is through creation of yourself. Water represents that second chakra, the emotional chakra. It's again through the passion of life, but there's also through your unique individuality, right? When that second chakra is our creativity, but it's also our individuality, who we perceive that we are. I believe because you grew up in the environment of trauma, there was parts of yourself that's like, I don't know who I am. My life doesn't really work in certain areas, though. And Spirit was saying, no, those parts are fragmented. You don't remember. So only through discipline, only through like creation and finding yourself, and like, do you really find your magic? But that's how you are able to really go with the flow of life when you're, in your creative process, because then you're not thinking about those past experiences. You're being called to be present, to be in the moment. And then the now is when you get divine guidance. So understand this person, like if you would have, given your energy to them, they would have kept you bound to the same energy that you grew up with. And this trauma energy, which understand it doesn't feel good to be like this in this survival energy. So what happens is over time is that we disassociate we get stuck in the freeze, and so we're there, but we're not there anymore. But in that energy, we find our psychic ability. I feel like life was frustrating, where really that's the opposite energy that we want to be in. We're not going to be able to manifest anything that's good of that. So I believe that you healed that. However, this person coming into your life has not. So really what spirit is saying is you have to have the courage to act from a place of love instead of fear. Like, sorry. Um, and that is also means for this connection. It's like you don't want to treat this person meanly, but it's also to know that you are on a different vibration. You are going on a higher vibration, which is ascending life. And the way that you ascend life a lot of times is you have to go through a spiritual test. And that spiritual test the universe gives you because feels that you needed to forgive or let go, or you needed to learn those lessons better. You weren't implementing that you really had learned those lessons, that you were still holding on to anger from those childhood experiences with that parent. So Spirit said, I'm going to give you a different person that you're going to fall in love with. And you're going to look at this situation from a different perception so that you can understand what maybe your mother went through, what your father went through, whatever it is with the dynamic that you have a hard time letting go. It's mirroring. Now you're put in that situation in order to integrate the spiritual lesson. And that really does take a place to go to like step into of courage. It really does, because we have to go back into the wound. And that's why it says, let love guide you, not fear. Because if you are letting fear guide you, you're going to be triggered all the way and you're not going to see anything. But if you let love guide you, you're able to heal the spiritual lesson that you need to learn. And what we saw here, it was about you like not being with a person that keeps you in a place of needing to disassociate because they can't give you, because they're stuck in their old habits. It shouldn't be an issue. There should be a desire and a want for them to do it. And what I see here is, like I said, that they have feelings for you, but it's like they're not ready. They're working through the situation. So you have to like give yourself the love and then make that decision whether you want to be with them when they come back, you know, with who you are. But I feel like you won't want to be with them because you're ascending life. So I believe that this person was a karmic and they came into your life to teach you certain things, and they have to eat the karma. And the karma is that they lose you because their energy, they didn't come in on the same energy. They came in, you know, holding back and not really giving you of their true self because they needed to heal certain things. So it's not like they don't raise their vibration, but the problem is that you raise your vibration too, which now you're now like this. So at one time you would like started from here and here, then you go up and now they go up, but they're still not caught up to you. And so you don't want to be connected to a person that's not on the same vibration, because it would require you to again give up yourself. And that's really what the spiritual lesson is. It's about choosing you. And that's not the easiest thing to do, especially when you grew up in a home that made you perceive that you needed to give, family or over yourself, like the loyalty of family over the loyalty of yourself. Like we know if the airplane goes down, you have to give yourself oxygen first in order to give everyone else oxygen. A lot of homes that are imbalanced psychically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, give you the perception that you're supposed to give of yourself before you take care of yourself, because that makes you a better person. So again, that's taught in childhood a lot of times. And so to have to go through a very similar experience and do things differently, would require this person to mirror the same types of behaviorism. So I believe that you passed the spiritual test. And we leave off on one more card, and that card is a message from the universe. That's not easy, especially if you have feelings for this person and it still didn't work out. There would be a part of you that would want for it to work out, but being able to see it for what it is and to really know that this person wouldn't be able to give you what you wanted, even later on, allows you to let go, I believe. Release. That's what I feel like. To release, stop fighting. Stop fighting like what comes in and out of your life. It's also stop fighting the hardships of life and understand that you control your thoughts. You live in the present moment and you accept each stage of life. You work on what you have power over and you put into God's hands what you can't change. You trust that everything will work out for the best. Everything's in divine order. So like I said, even though you may not be with this person, it's not a bad thing because the universe always has the best person in mind for you. That's number one. Number two, it's also the universe is always bringing you the people, the situations, and the experiences that are helping you to evolve. And those people and situations, a lot of times, don't stay in your life forever. They're just pieces of your puzzle to the bigger plan, to the bigger part of life. And that's what I really feel like this person was. It was mainly for you to go through the experience that would bring up a lot of emotion, that would trigger past memories, not just for you, but also this person, to help you and this person clear the karmic programs. That's it. It's like not all relationships do we understand on a physical level, like again, on a mental level. I should say not physical level, but on a physical level too. This was purely a spiritual connection, which was intense. But it would have to be in order for both parties to do a deep dive. It's just it was never meant to come into fruition. So I'm going to leave that there, Gemini. You let me know how you resonated with this one, and I'll talk to you soon.